Yo, what's going on, man? It's Jay Bliss. I appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of HBCU Stories. We have a great lineup tonight, man. We got three great schools represented. The schools represented tonight is North Carolina A&T. We got Fayetteville State University for the first time represented, and we have Johnson C. Smith University represented. So without further ado, let me introduce the panelists on the show tonight. First, representing North Carolina A&T, we have Latasha Montague Williams in the building. What's going on, Latasha?
Woo! At Geek Pride.
How you representing already, no doubt.
Yes.
All right. Appreciate you joining tonight. Next, we have representing Fayetteville State University. We have Naya in the building. Naya, what's going on?
Bronco Pride. You see it?
CIAA representing, no doubt. I appreciate you joining in. The very first person from Fayetteville State to join the broadcast, so I appreciate you coming in. Looking forward to hearing what you got to say about the Broncos down in Fayetteville State. And last but not least, representing Johnson C. Smith University. And if you was in school around the same time I was in school, you know this guy. And without a doubt, I know he's going to be a blast this evening. Give it up for my man, Master Syed, in the building. What's going on, Master? How you feeling? Can you hear me?
What's good? Go with the Bulls. Yeah, I hear you.
All right, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to jump right into it. And we're going to start ladies first like we usually do on the broadcast. And we're going to start with Latasha. So the first question we have for Latasha is, what were the circumstances surrounding you choosing an HBCU and why North Carolina A&T? And where are you originally from first?
So originally from Durham, North Carolina, Blue City. I bring out the horns. Can't take us nowhere. But Blue City. And so basically, why did I choose an HBCU? I think it was just a collection of different experiences and things that you see or don't see growing up. And I think it all kind of, helped culminate into why I went to HBCU. Just always being the minority in the class, you know what I mean? I remember when I was, in elementary school, it was two Black neighborhoods side by side. We both should have, in theory, went to the same elementary school 2 minutes up the street. They divided us up, sent my neighborhood out to Never Never Land. You know what I mean? The other neighborhood got to go right up the street. So we were definitely more of the minority being sort of bused out to this really rural area. So just always being one of two people, African Americans, in a classroom. And then over time, not seeing you always represented, in imagery. And then fast forward all the way up, just to kind of give you that, to maybe my 10th grade in high school, I went out for what they call color guard.
Right.
Not flag guard, color guard.
Right.
In my high school. I always wanted to be in the band. And I knew it wasn't the band that I wanted. But I was like, hey, but this is my only opportunity. So I'm going to go out for color guard. And I made it. And so certainly that first football season, I just was not feeling it. I did the moves. I did my little low mark step. I remember at the end of that season, I called my dad, who was a police officer in Durham. I said, Dad, I want to get over to Hillside. Hillside, which was the African-American school in Durham. I was like, Dad, can I go to Hillside? He was like, nah. You're going to stay right here in your district. You're going to go right up here to, So at that point, that was honestly the pivotal point. To answer your question, I said, I'm going to a HBCU.
Right.
I was not in the band another year after that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to wait. I didn't know what HBCU at the time, but I knew I was going to HBCU. That was like the last straw, you know what I mean?
Right.
Of saying that I wanted to go to HBCU.
So you made a decision to go to HBCU because of the band, number one. And so did you apply to any like PWIs or you only applied
No.
So you only applied to HBCUs?
No, at that moment, I don't know if at that moment,
right,
that pivotal last moment, it was only HBCU. It wasn't even a look. I've already been on that side my whole life. You know what I mean? I just knew I wanted to really enjoy the experience of that.
HBCU. Okay. So did you go any tours or anything like that for any schools?
Well, I mean, so fast forward to why I picked A&T later when I got to my senior year. I actually was trying not to go to A&T.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. Because so many people were going to A&T, and I'm one of those people, I'm like, well, certainly there's lots of other HBCUs. Let me do my due diligence. I'm not just going, with the flow. I'm like, yeah, A&T has this, and they do have all the things I want on my checklist, but I want to really explore. And to be honest with you, I really wanted to go to Howard first, but wasn't getting enough of that right there.
Money, right.
So we said we're gonna keep it on in-house. So my parents said we're gonna keep this on in-house. So anyway, I tried to narrow it down pretty quickly, and I'll make the story short. Of course, I'm from Durham. My first introduction to HBCU was North Carolina Central University.
Yeah.
So big ups to my Eagles. Got a million friends in the Eagles. That was my first introduction, but I knew I couldn't stay in Durham. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So that slashed the list. Then I looked at kind of all the other schools. I kind of put Shaw and St. Aug. My dad actually went to Shaw. So I got a lot of roots and ties, but I just, that just wasn't necessarily my second choice based on my major. So then I looked at, okay, you got Johnson C. Smith, Fayetteville State, Elizabeth City, Winston-Salem. Were pretty much the main 4 or 5 that were sort of left. So then I explored those.
Right.
I've already been to A&T before. Like I'd already been there before. I didn't even do an official college tour, to be honest with you, at A&T. I had just been there hanging out before. I knew everything about it. So the list narrowed down real quick because based on my major, based on the city, because I looked at the personality of the city of what I felt like I wanted to be in. Think about it. I wanted to go to DC for Howard. So I still wanted a sort of city-ish feel.
Right.
And then what else? So city, school personality, major, all that. And of course the band, that was an important part. So really it literally came down, once I narrowed everything down based on what I was looking for, it was like, I have to go to A&T. Like it just fits. So
all right. Okay, cool. All right, that's what's up. So Naya, Fayetteville State, where are you originally from, Naya?
I am from the Queen City, so Charlotte, North Carolina is home.
You are from the Queen City. All right, cool. And one thing that I meant to mention when Latasha was talking was, so y'all from North Carolina, so all the HBCUs listed, I'm going, dang, that's all in North Carolina. Like, that's not even a mindset. Master and myself, we're from Jersey. So it was like, for us, it's a different mindset when it comes to HBCUs. The fact that y'all have that many within driving distance from you is major. So you're from Charlotte. And so what were the circumstances behind Fayetteville? And I'm assuming you didn't go to Johnson C. Smith because you from Charlotte.
So with Johnson C. Smith being a private HBCU,
right,
it's more expensive.
Right.
So it was one of my schools of choice because initially I did not want to leave Charlotte. So I wanted to go to Johnson C. Smith or UNC Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought I wanted because I felt like I wanted to stay home. And that was just being closed-minded, being a first generation college student. I hadn't really explored a whole lot. My junior year, I became involved with a group called Campus Connections. And they took us in and we went to visit just a lot of the HBCUs, not just in North Carolina, but we went to Georgia. So we kind of traveled from Virginia to Georgia, visiting different HBCUs, so that we could get a feel of what it was like to go to an HBCU. A lot of the students that were in Campus Connections were going to be first generation college students. Right. So Fayetteville State was one of the schools that I visited. Of course, all of the schools in North Carolina, and being a part of Campus Connection, a lot of times when we went and toured the schools, once we got back, they waived our application fees.
Right.
So that allowed me to apply to more schools than I would have applied to if I had to pay an application fee. So Fayetteville State became my school of choice because honestly,
she paused. So let's see.
Oh.
Yeah, let me see if our connection gets better.
I got the most money from Fayetteville. Okay.
All right, cool. Right. You paused for a second and then it went off. All
right. So my parents were like, when I got the offer, I was like, I don't want to go there. I want to go to Johnson C. Smith if I'm going to go to HBCU or UNC Charlotte. And they were like, if you stay here, you're going to see PCC. And not saying that nothing was wrong with starting your college career off in a community college, but that was it. And they,
Right.
you know, that's where we were. And they were honest. They were like, Fayetteville State's giving you money to go there. Like, that helps us out as a family. And, you know, you get to go away. We get to come visit you. So they wrapped all that into my decision to attend Fayetteville State University. So
Right.
that was it. I got offers. I got accepted to other HBCUs in North Carolina, UNC Charlotte, Johnson C. Smith, St. Aug, Shaw. I mean, all of them in North Carolina, because I applied to all of them because majority of them, I didn't have to pay an application fee. But Fayetteville State gave me the most funds, and, you know, it would have been a financial hardship. So that was the smart decision to make, and the absolute best decision I feel like I could have made.
Yeah. So, was there anyone from your graduating class that went to Fayetteville with you?
Okay, so let's talk about that. So I remember having a conversation with, and Tasha knows her because she's one of my best friends. She actually married into my family, so we have my maiden name, it's her married name. You know, circumstances have changed, but that's how close we are. I remember talking to her on the phone. She was at West Charlotte. I was at North Met, and I remember saying, her name's Sophie Dinkins Carr. And I remember saying, Sophie, my parents are trying to make me go to this school. Girl, you probably haven't even heard of it. And she was like, what school? And I said, Fayetteville State University. She was like, I'm going to Fayetteville State University. And I said, oh my God, no, you are not. And she was like, I'm going there. And I was like, okay, you just kind of helped solidify. I'm giving resistance, but you just helped solidify my decision.
Yeah.
So from that point forward, I became more excited because then I'm going to the school with a friend. And I ended up telling another friend that went to West Charlotte also that I was going to Fayetteville State. And she applied, and all three of us were roommates our freshman year of college.
Oh, that's good. So y'all had three in a room. That's very rare. Yeah, that's
party room freshman year.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
That makes a difference. That makes a big difference.
It does. It does. Yeah. So Master, let's tell me, what were the circumstances behind you choosing Johnson C. Smith, being from Jersey, and what was the situation?
So actually, Johnson C. Smith wasn't my first school.
Okay.
I actually went to a prep all-boy Catholic school in Newark, and I was kind of blessed to have that. You know how Newark is, just even having that quality of learning, so to say. So I really wasn't a scholarly type, let's just say that. So going to a college preparatory school, them classes was official. So just graduating high school, I was like, yo, this is it. Once I get this little paper, it's a wrap. But of course, they had a high challenging mindset for everyone. So it was like, hey, start the process of filling out for colleges. Trust me, you're smart enough, you could do it. So I had to build that I'm going to college mindset up. And once I started getting accepting letters, it was like, yo, I got in. You know what I mean? I got something from West Virginia. I got something from Norfolk. And being from Newark and Jersey, I'm like, I don't know none of these schools. They don't mean nothing to me. Yeah. But I got accepted to Grambling State University. I knew Grambling because of the Classic. And then once I found out, New Orleans, you could connect certain things. I was like, yo, I'm going to Grambling. Okay. So my first year of college, I went down to Grambling. Okay. But keeping in mind, from Newark, New Jersey to Grambling, Louisiana, it's a skip and a hop. Nah. So, I didn't have first class money on no planes. Right. So my first year of college, I got on a Greyhound bus. My mom waved at me bye-bye, and it took me about 32 hours on a Greyhound bus to get to Grambling. So after my first year of Grambling, or during the year when kids was going home for breaks and stuff like that, they could bounce. But I'm like, yo, I'm not getting back on no bus.
32 hours. Yeah.
You're gonna figure something out right quick.
Yeah, so the nearest airport, Grambling, is Grambling, Louisiana. Like Johnson C. Smith, you still have Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right.
Grambling, Louisiana was Grambling State University. One post office, one the sheriff department, the police, all in one building kind of thing going on. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this ain't working. But I was glad to go to Grambling because it was the furthest away from Newark. So that gave me the maturity of being independent, meeting different people culturally. There was a lot of people that, up north, we thought anything in the South was slow.
Slow, right.
So, when you meet people, you're like, wow, it's not what it's all cracked up to be as far as like those prejudices against, other people that's not from up north. But at the same time, I had a lot of friends that I knew from Newark in high school at Johnson C. Smith.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what ended up happening, when I was like, yo, Mom, this ain't really working because it's just too far. I could never come home, in a car real quick within the 8 or 10 hour window.
Right.
But all my partners that were in Charlotte was like, yo, Charlotte is actually a metropolitan city. It's in the South, but it's a city that's growing. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you in the backwoods somewhere. So, and another thing about Grambling, Louisiana, they were so small, you couldn't fly a regular plane.
Right.
You had to fly to like Dallas and get on, I call it the La Bamba Special. Right. The little prop planes.
Little prop dusters. Prop dusters.
Little puddle jumpers, yeah.
So once we scratched that and I talked to some of my partners and stuff is that Smith. That next coming semester, I came to Johnson C. Smith.
Right.
And one thing I did like about it was small. So it was one of those things of where I had a crew. I already knew people, there that had my back or could, kind of give me the mentorship of, this is how Charlotte worked. And after that first semester, man, it was like, yo, this is it. You know what I mean? I like Smith. It was small. We had good camaraderie. And it just seemed like a family, you know what I mean? A family at Smith to me.
I never knew you went to Grambling. So to me, that's dope. But you went from Grambling. I would compare Grambling to A&T. You went from a huge school.
Yeah.
Going to a Fayetteville State Johnson C. Smith type joint where it's like more close knit. You know what I mean? And everybody know everybody.
Exactly.
So like you being on campus, like everybody like the new dude from Jersey, everybody know who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like our school was so small. I remember I had a cousin that came to visit one time, and he was like, "What dorm you stay in?" I was like, "Man, when you get to the security booth, just ask for Justin."
Yeah.
He was like, man, shut up. I'm like, dude, I'm the only Justin on campus. Like that. He was like, man, they ain't gonna know who you are. I said, watch. And then he got to the door, he was like, yo, Justin that with the Capitol. He was like, yeah, you stay over there. I was like, yo, I told you. And it was like, one of those. That's dope. All right, so moving on to the next portion of the questions. Going back to Latasha. So that first day on campus, not registration, but you were in the band, right? Were you in the band?
I was. I was
so
the lights.
Did you get there early? Yeah, did you get there early or
yeah, so it started off different, like you said, because with you remember that too, because it was like day one. So we had to go maybe 2 weeks before. So no one was there, except the band people. So we had to go try out. But it was fun because that was close knit because you kind of really got to meet a certain subset of people, you know what I mean, in the band and kind of really get, full access to the campus even before everybody gets there, your roommate gets there, et cetera, et cetera. Although I knew my roommate as well. So we kind of like had a 2-week head start on campus. Band, they had parties too. So we started partying before the other people came to party. But nevertheless, once the first week actually came, I mean, it was like homecoming, in a certain kind of way, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just because all the influx of people, everything you would kind of expect, just being people. They got block parties on campus. Just really feeling at home, feeling like this is exactly what I couldn't wait to do that temporary year when I was trying to go.
Yeah, so let me go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So coming from where you came from, the background that you had, and you being a minority in the majority of places. So this is your first experience around, and you at A&T.
No. Now I know where you about to go. This is my first experience around Black people.
No.
Not Black people, but
no, you know what I mean. What I mean is you're grown, you're by yourself, like you're out here, and then like you're on campus, schooling, and it's all Black people. Like, tell me, like you got to feel something about that.
I mean, I do. I mean, don't get me wrong, but let me back up for just a minute. In Durham, the good news is, okay, I grew up in a middle class African American neighborhood. So that's number one. So that was great. That gave me a great foundation. Told you, my dad a police officer, my mama worked at Duke Powers. They knew everybody in the city. My brother's a DJ. I was a rapper. You know what I'm saying? So we Black, right? Even though we predominantly white. And then along the way, I went to one of the largest African American churches in Durham.
Okay.
I was always in a lot of different groups in the city, even though I lived in the county. You know what I'm saying? I went to, W.D. Hill summer camp. I went to Central Camp, for a couple of summers. So I felt I ran for the Durham Striders. You know what I mean? So that was all like in the city. So I was around everybody from like Hillside and, and Durham had a lot of those middle schools and high schools. But so it really wasn't like super, like, shocking that way. It was just kind of times 10. But I just felt like it was everything else I've been enjoying in the smaller instances. I just now get to do it, on a larger scale or more.
I got you.
So Justin, quick question for her. Yeah. You're gonna let her say she was a rapper and let that slide by?
I was gonna ask if she could spit some bars for me, yo.
Bars.
I don't even know why I said that.
I want some bars. When she said it, I was gonna be like, yo, I can hit the beatbox.
I was just trying to prove my Blackness along the way. That's all.
I had to prove your Blackness. You graduated from A&T. Like you blacker than me. Like
she said, I'm black.
And you from Durham. Like what else? I mean, what else do you want to do?
Right. You're right. Yeah.
So, yo.
But Matthew, to answer your question, my brother, like I said, was a DJ. I was rapping at 9. My brother.
She got to spitball. She just said it 3 times. She got to spitball.
Tasha, just tell me what your rap name was. That's all I want to know right now.
Well, wait. I have to spell it because if not, it's gonna sound correct. No, I'm telling you.
Somebody just said it. Is it Tasty Freeze?
Yes.
Oh
no! Listen, this is the funny part. So you're 9 years old and you like, what? She tasty? Why she got a name like Tasty? So I was the Taste P. Remember how back then it was sweet T-E-E?
Right.
So I was T-A-S-T-E T-E-E.
Okay. Listen.
Okay.
I don't want y'all to think I was fast at age 9, like I'm acting like I'm tasty. Nah.
So she done took the tasty cake and the freeze pops and put them together. She was like, "Yo, we tasty freeze."
That's what my brother did. My brother was Kid Freeze, and he came up with the name based off Dairy Queen and this whole thing about the freeze. It's crazy. Anyway,
we get sidetracked. Yo, I'm gonna have to do a whole nother podcast on that one. That's hilarious. So now I'm gonna leave Tasty Freeze up there for a minute. Hey, so Naya, when you got down there, you got 3 friends with you. Y'all roommates. Your parents left. School starts. Like, what's the feeling? Like, what's the vibe? You had that feel a little bit more comfort with 2 friends with you rooming together. So, but what was it like?
I'm gonna go back because I as well was in the band. Mm-hmm. I was a Royal Treasure dance girl. So
right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So Tasty Freeze and Royal Treasure. I see what's going on here.
But so I went 2 weeks or so. I don't even remember how many weeks it was, but it was weeks before my roommates got there and before being in the dorm that was assigned to freshmen. So I was in band camp And I actually met another dear friend. She was my band camp roommate. I mean, I have to say, just kind of moving forward, I'm sure we'll get there. But I met some of my best friends in college that, I mean, they were bridesmaids in my wedding. They're family. Friends truly become family at HBCU. So I have to say that she was my band roommate. We were both there auditioning to be on the dance team. And that first day, I guess so much adrenaline flowing, excited about the newness, but then nervous about the newness at the same time. Never had I been anywhere without my parents. Like,
right.
I mean, little trips, with Girl Scouts or, church, but it was just totally, it was a total different, like, out of body experience, just kind of like that different world. I felt like I was part of a different world. I mean, we got there, the band, the veteran members were already playing and they were dancing, the drums were beating. So it was that energy, they gave us that energy at, just at the jump of entering the campus. But
so the band welcomed the new band members on campus by playing for them?
Yeah, they were playing and they just had it live and we were all excited, didn't really know what to do. We, kind of like, I don't know what to do with all this, but we like it. So they greeted us with that. And we also, was greeted with knowing that we could have help. I remember vividly two of my line sisters, because I am in a sorority, but they were in the band. So they were veterans in the band.
Shout it out. You can shout your sorority out.
Delta Sigma Theta sorority.
Okay. Be out.
You already know, bruh. So before even knowing, of course, because I'm coming in as a freshman, that they were going to be my line sisters, but they were already like, look, if you need help with math or if you need help with this, let us know. We want to make sure that your grades are where they need to be so that you can, do what you need to do and stay in the band. So it's just that initial support, that those big sisters, that feel of having big sisters and big brothers, like on site, on arrival. So I just remember my first day just being high energy, and I'm excited, but I'm nervous because I don't really know what to expect, but I'm ready to embrace it all. So
that's what's up. That's what's up. That's a good reflection on that. So Master, you actually going to Grambling and then coming to join your friends, which is a different experience. Like you coming to join your crew, so you come with friends automatically. So they friends is your friends, and they like, yo, a boy coming, so it's gonna be on when he get here, stuff like that. Once that rhythm started, like, did you came in the fall though, right? So the beginning of the next year.
Yeah, you got it.
What was that feeling like? Understanding that you was already at Grambling, you came to Smith. And what was it? What was that feeling? Or just talk about when you was at Grambling. Like talk about that feeling of I'm here.
Okay, so let's just start with Grambling. So when I was at Grambling, it was a lot more fear and anxiety. Just because one didn't have nobody.
Right.
So the mindset of up north cats. Let me find other up north cats.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And we all off gate had what we call it, the East Coast Coalition. New York, Connecticut, Jersey cats. We're gonna form a group wherever we go.
Right.
So
what
was a little crazy about it is, unfortunately, the youngness of young Black men and women sometimes bringing the negativity from where they're from, kind of hit home. Because one, up north, we didn't have gangs. You see what I'm saying? But when I got to Louisiana, they already were into like that blood crip in the area.
Right.
So unfortunately, a lot of our HBCUs are in the heart of neighborhoods that already have a certain energy.
Right.
So that was a little reality check of, even though I'm in college, stuff still could get real.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of a clash, because, you know, most of our parents, they don't speak that reality. They're more focused on getting the education. Life is going to be real easy and golden, but they don't analyze, okay, even though you go in here for school, there's still some stuff going on. So, you know, once I got my little clique in Grambling, we still had to deal with, you know, like I said, when we had the campus parties or, you know, parties that weren't on campus, but in neighborhoods.
You got the
it
local.
was that, it was that danger on standby. But besides that, once you got into the rhythm or how to move and knowing how to detect certain energy, the schooling part, it was like, yo, really your freshman year is just an extension of high school. because you're really starting to see almost everybody is still in the same mindset of, you know, we procrastinating last minute.
And your parents not here? And your parents not
here.
A lot of that, yo, did you do the homework? Let me see. So once I really understand, it was really just time management. It was smooth selling, you know, because the only thing you was really concerned about is, yo, when Mom Dukes call or Pop Dukes and they say how it's going, they really just want to know, is the grades decent? And then everything else was really on you, social management and time management. So once I got that, it was cool. But then when I came to Smith, it was really easy because, like I said, I had that network. And then I did one semester. Then that's when I pledged Q. Once I pledged Q and, you know, I crossed, it was a whole different energy. Like, like I'm official.
Y'all listen, I'm gonna say this now. Y'all was rowdy. I was like, yo, y'all whole line. I was like, y'all too much. Like, it was like the kids didn't need that energy.
It was official then, because, you know, like Nia said, you had that brotherhood. And then even with all of the frats and sororities, because Smith was small, we was all cool.
We was all cool, right?
You see what I'm saying?
There was no beef with anybody.
Yeah. Now at Grambling, when I go back into that game mindset, you know, of course I wasn't part of anything then, but it was really a different energy. Like the Qs didn't really mess with the Kappas. Like, I would be like, yo, are they
like a game?
Like
a real game.
When I saw Kappas use them canes as weapons, I said, oh. I said, these jokers is real. But it got easier, you know what I mean? After that freshman year, you really knew it's all about time management.
You bring up a good point when you said when you was down in Louisiana and you connected immediately with the people that was from your area. I did the same thing when I got to Johnson C. Smith, but it didn't take me long to realize I don't need to be hanging with people for where I'm from. And the reason why was, you're right. Some of the cats that I clicked with initially, they just had a different energy, and it was negative. And I was like, yo, I'm not down here for that. Like, I'm not down here. Like, granted, they wasn't there the next semester, but their whole vibe was negative towards the South. And I'm like, yo, like, chill. Like, why are you, like, what's going on? Like, man, these dudes are slow. I'm like, nah, cuz, like, you really got to look at it from a different standpoint, which was crazy because maybe the next week or the following week, I think I didn't hang with anybody else but with people from South Carolina. Like, for my whole freshman year, it was like all South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, like anybody from South, I was hanging with them. Because I wanted to know.
What used to always get me? We used to always get me. People always from up north come down and tell me we slow. I'm like, why y'all here though?
It's not. Listen, when we say slow, it's, and then we learn real quick. It's speak slow. It's not that they, because we talk fast. But when it only take you a week to figure out, oh, they talk slow, but they ain't slow.
Right.
Yeah.
It only took a dude to
But
get
no,
robbed. He
sometimes the
got robbed.
stigmas.
Dude
Yeah,
got
but sometimes
robbed.
the stigmas would look like would appear.
Dude
Of
got
course, we
robbed
know
the
that.
first
We
week
know
of
that.
school.
We know that.
He got
But I'm
robbed the
just
first
saying.
week of school. They was like,
Yeah.
yo, you got robbed? Like, yeah, they took him for everything. Like,
Yeah.
And like,
not
down
to
here, y'all ain't got this. Y'all, I'm like, but you knew that, right? You knew that.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
But see, this is the thing. I don't know for you, Justin, but for most of us, HBCU was really our first exposure to being in the South. Like, really, you know, you might go visit, you know, your cousins in Virginia real quick for the summer, or, you know, Florida, you know, that kind of in and out. But when we first, you know, like you said, you first get down here, it's a stigma that it kind of comes in. The same thing with up north cats. A lot of us would think we was just arrogant and we think we better than everybody. But me, I'm a people person.
yeah.
And, you know, I am who I am. Like, I'm a dancer. So soon as the college parties start happening, I'm not standing on the wall. You know, I'm clubbing in, and people like, yo, this dude is always having fun. He out. And then you just, like you said, you really start hanging with other people that's not, you know, up north. And it just really lets you know, yo, we all the same. We just, you know, come from different aspects of life.
Now that you say that, I think that's where I met you, on the dance floor.
Yeah.
House music came on. I'm
exactly.
like, oh, this cat from Jersey.
I think I've seen you dance here in Charlotte. You dance Look at all this talent in the room. Look at all this talent.
House music, that's all it takes. So we're going into the next part of the show. This is a good episode too. I'm having a ball. Next episode, next question in the series is the stories. So the HBCU stories portion of the show. And Latasha, we're gonna start back with you. Is there anything particular that you want to talk about, or anything that just reminds you of your time at your HBCU, or something that just happened that was like, yo, this was it for me? You know what I mean?
Oh, this was it?
Well, you know, it could be anything you want to share.
I'll share a funny story. You know,
that's fine.
My freshman year, you know, we couldn't bring our cars on campus, right? So we had a group called 5-Pack, right? We lived in Van Story Hall. Freshman year was 5 of us. Now,
she got to filter it.
It's funny. Yeah, I'll keep some stuff to myself. But we had some names that we had, and anyway, let me skip a second. Okay, so second semester, one of our 5-Pack members was able to bring her car back.
Okay.
You know, we enjoying life. You know, we out. We all, you know, love to go to parties and functions and have a good time. And so when she brought the car back, it was her mother's car, I believe. It was a white Toyota Camry.
Right.
And on the front, it said Jesus.
This already gonna be funny right here.
So it was like, oh, I mean, she the only one who's got the car. We gotta go to the party in the car. We're gonna make a couple stops. We're gonna, and you know, at one point we just felt guilty. We like, should we be really, you know, consuming and you know, so but we would always joke and say we was covered by the blood though. That was our way to justify. But just imagine, like, you know, that car was like took us everywhere, and we, you know, did everything, you know, as far as just enjoying ourselves. But you know, that was just a funny thing that it was like we got Jesus on the front, and we pull up, and they be like, you know, so it was just fun. That was a funny story. But I say we were covered the whole time.
No doubt.
During that time. But yes, I mean certainly just the preparation. I love just the relationships. I mean, you can't beat it. I didn't have to worry about feeling comfortable. I didn't have to worry about a feeling of discrimination. You know, so just that overall sense of Aggie pride. I mean, just the embodiment of what that really means to this day just resonates, you know, everywhere. And I have friends even now who say, you know, just the pride. What do y'all have so much pride? Or where y'all get that from? I even had somebody say, y'all got too much pride. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I would hope anybody for their school has the same amount of pride we have for our own, just like you all do. You know, so when somebody says you have too much, I don't understand that. And I'm never going to dim that light, just as we all should not. on our school, but just that network, I cannot, you can never take that away. And all my friends and everybody from that like you said, in my weddings and to this day. So.
Latasha, you bring up a good point. And I don't think that's ever been said. Like, we talked about pride before, but I don't know if there's anything I can compare my pride that I have for my school. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can compare it to anything. I mean, you can compare it to maybe the love that you have for maybe a church you came up in. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, the pride that I have for my HBCU is different.
It is.
I mean, I love my sports team that I root for, but I think I love my HBCU more than I love that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's a good point, because even in high school, I'm just saying this to prove a point about the pride. So, did a lot of things in high school. I was homecoming queen of my high school. Remember, it was predominantly, white.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you would think, okay, that's like a big deal. And it is a big deal. And I appreciated that. But I still didn't have that super sense, that extra heightened sense of pride for that school as much as I still had for my HBCU. You know what I mean? Because of the things that we see, the imagery, when we're not fully represented or don't feel like our voices are always heard like that. I mean, so I think it just speaks volumes to the place of HBCUs in our culture even today. That's
what's up. Yeah, that's what's up. So Naya, I don't know if you have that little connection problem, so hopefully you can stay on.
Right.
What would you say will be a story or stories that you can recall at your time at Fayetteville State that just kind of encompasses what happened, like while you were there, something that just reminds you of the times you were there?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I do not know a specific story that sticks out. I mean, I just think about the involvement, just being just so family oriented, or just feeling like that is where I was supposed to be at that point in my life. Just all of the experiences. I mean, I cannot think of one story. I just think of everything.
The whole experience. So, all right, let me guide you through it then. I'm going to guide you through one, all right?
Okay, Jay Bliss.
All right, so explain to me, because I know how it was at my school, all right?
Okay.
Explain to me on your campus what the cafeteria was about and why was it important for y'all? And I want to see if it was the same reason for us. Like, tell me, what's the CAF? Like, tell me the CAF at Fayetteville State University. Tell me what's going on with the CAF.
Well, when you went to the CAF at Fayetteville State University, you were greeted by, we called her Mama. She was a little older lady. Of course, she looked like us.
Right.
That greeted us, made sure we had our meal cards, our campus cards, because you didn't have that card, you were not getting in that cafeteria. So you were going back to your dorm room or whatever you needed to do to get access, for your access to be granted. So you had Mama at the entrance of the CAF, and then it was a meeting spot. So it was where you sat and you saw everybody. You of course we ate. I mean, I was an eater. I ate at that cafeteria. So it was a place where you go and you try to get a certain seat, so you are positioned to where you see everybody that's walking into the CAF.
Yeah.
So again, that's one of the building blocks. But then, hanging out in front of New Residence Hall, that was a big deal when I first got there. And we had a really good room on the second floor, so I could really sit on my bed and people watch from my bed. I could just kind of watch everything that was going on, the late night creepers. I could kind of
see. Nobody saw them, did they, Naya? They were incognito.
I was looking out the window on the second floor in New Residence Hall.
Oh man.
What else? Just so much. Road tripping. So once I became a Delta, we would road trip to see other sorors and other, we didn't have at the time, the Omegas weren't on the yard. So we would go to some of the other HBCUs nearby when the Bros had their rollout show to support, the Bros.
Yeah.
And the sorors. Let me not act like we didn't go see my sorority sisters come out, but because, like you all mentioned earlier, in North Carolina, you had so many HBCUs that were in driving distance. I mean, Durham, it only took us like 45 minutes to get from Fayetteville to Durham, an hour and 15 minutes to get to Raleigh, 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to Charlotte. So you had all those schools right there. So we would support each other by going to those different events. And also, I didn't hang out and get to party in high school. So to go to some of the house-like parties, let me talk about the grooves that were a big deal when I first got there. They had some of the realest parties. So I had never experienced anything like that. So all of that just kind of, came together in the service. So, I mean, I didn't know a lot about sororities and fraternities because, again, I was first generation. So seeing the community involvement that you saw these different organizations doing around the campus, just doing different things, of course, to pique interest, but not only that, just kind of showing, how they supported the university and the surrounding community to the university. So it's just so many stories that I could share. And then my involvement, I went to a predominantly white high school too here in Charlotte, but I feel like, not tooting my horn, but when I got to college, my first year, I think I was kind of reserved a little bit. I was trying to fill it out. So I didn't leave a house where my parents were strict, and I couldn't do a whole lot and just go buck wild. And I really think that Campus Connection contributed to that because they talked to us about so many things and experiences going to college. I mean, from what to do right, what not to do, how your body is your body.
Yeah. Speak on
it. It's so real with us. So I went to college saying, okay, this is not, you don't need to be buck wild because things come with that. So I kept myself together, but I not only pledged the wonderful sorority of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, but I danced, I cheered, I was homecoming queen in college. So I ran for Miss FSU. I didn't win that, but I was a contestant. So I just had a lot of involvement. I participated in community service organizations where we even took a trip to Hawaii. I had my first airplane ride while being a college student. So it just there are so many stories that, and I can get emotional about it because, like you all said about the pride. So this Bronco pride, this Aggie pride, this Golden Bull pride that we feel it's real because our HBCUs truly shape the people that we are now. So I couldn't tell you just one story, Jay Bliss, because
you're good. I'm glad I got you out of your shell. I'm glad I got you out of your shell, but that calf opened everything up. So,
like you said, her name was Mama.
Appreciate that. No doubt.
But if I could just add one small thing, I know we got to get the master real quick. I was just going back to what you said about going into the freshman year, and I remember, like you said, I got a lot of advice from cousins and other people who were going there. And I just remember, especially with dealing with guys, the number one thing they said, because we had Scott Hall and Cooper Hall, which is where a lot of the guys, they were like, make sure you're not no Cooper Trooper and no Scotty Hottie. You know what I'm saying? And that like stood out like, yo, you do not.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I did not go, like if somebody was interested in me, that I even thought I was interested back, they had to come see me. I wasn't going to be visible, you know what I'm saying? If somebody in the dorm, like I saw you, nope. Right. So that thing stuck with me as far as
that's funny. That's hilarious. That's funny right there.
It was like,
but you're absolutely right. I mean, somebody has to kind of be in your ear because we all have cautionary tales of the one female that got on the yard, and the next day everybody was like, "Word!" Like it's like she did what? Like, it's like, and everybody like, yeah. And everybody looking at it different than the calf.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, why ain't nobody sitting with her? Like, yo,
no.
Well, yeah, right. At least not till at nighttime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people need to hear these stories.
Yeah.
Like,
Word.
Those are the type of things that happen, and then it's all of a sudden, like, then everybody laughing at your boy because they like, oh, that's your girl, that's your girl.
Now I will add. Ultimately, I met my husband at A&T, so that's another big memorable thing that came out of going to A&T, because he actually wanted to go to Central originally. So he ended up coming back.
So those are connections that happen.
Another.
So Master, what story or stories do you have for us?
All right, let's start with a wild one first. I wasn't a Q yet, but this is at Smith. You remember Club Rolex?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was over on Freedom Drive.
Yeah. So this was one of the first parties I went to with Tom Production. And I still had, back then we still had two-way pages. And I had my two-way pager, and I had on sweatpants. You remember the swish Nike joints?
Right.
Yeah, I remember what I had on. I had on some green Rod Laver Adidas and some green swish sweatpants. These jokers started fighting up in the Rolex. And it was some bras with, I guess, some, regular individuals. And I'm running around because, it's chaotic. And I heard something go pop, and I tripped at the same time. So why I think I just got shot, but really it was just, I was so shook. I fell, running, trying to run. And I lost my two-way pager. And when I say I was hot, because, we was on the end of two-way pages. Yeah. It was like we was the last generation with two-way pages. And what was crazy, I was so scared, but it was so fun at the same time.
When you thought it was shooting, you thought.
Just the whole they were shooting this.
That's New York. That's New York.
It's like, we almost died tonight. Let's do it Saturday.
You know what? I can't.
But just that having that fun, and these are the things that really bring us together, like going through the reality of we're still trying to be professional and highly educated, but we still got to have that fun, but life things still happen.
Yeah.
And that was something that kind of really put the stamp on, these parties, they real fun. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize, that was our outlet for a hard, week of work.
Right.
So adults, myself, I wasn't a drinker or smoker. So the parties was really my, I'm about to really go out here and do my thing and have fun.
Right.
So I really like that. Then another thing, going back into Pride, when we had Bull Fest, my first Bull Fest at Smith, it really kind of put a stamp on, wow, people really come back. You know how y'all guys was talking about, you have your sports teams. Our HBCU is one of the things in our life, the beginning of the calendar year at your jobs, you already looking to see when homecoming comes. What days,
national holiday.
What days I need to take off. Do I need a day afterwards to recover? Let me be the first person to ask for it. And that kind of love we have just to even see each other. Because as we got older, we know we're blessed to see each other every year, because life is taking a lot of our classmates and alumni away from us. So you really just look forward, to seeing each other, during those homecomings, and even with the CIAA, which was to me an extension of homecoming.
Right.
So.
But you know what you just said about Lord, I just drew a blank. When people with alumni, don't get me wrong, to each his own, but in general, when I hear people say about homecoming, like they'd be like, "Are you going to homecoming?" They would ask me like, "Hey, you going to homecoming?" I'm like, "Well, is Walmart open?" Like, of course, I'm going. Like, I wouldn't go. But some people who would be like, "Well, nah, I'm not going to go this year. I'll sit this one out. Let them miss me." I'm like, who's missed? Like, it's just
ain't nobody asking about you. If you ain't there, you don't matter.
Exactly, you don't matter. Exactly. So that's funny to me. It's like, and so, but I got one for you, Master. Party, Omega by the Lake, in Greensboro, the Q House. One memory, it was hot. It was 2 floors. It was a house. You'd literally feel the floor moving.
Shaking up and down.
And we thought that was cool as I don't know what. And any moment, it was about to fall through. So
somebody put a comment up earlier. Tasha Roy said, "You ain't have fun at a college party unless you was running." Now that's funny to me. That's funny to me because I think we've all experienced running somewhere. You know what I mean?
It's funny after the fact. It's funny that you was running after the fact.
Yeah. That's what I said. Like when I thought I got shot, it was like, yo, this is it. But yo, where's my 2-way pager? That's all I was concerned about.
I think one of the funniest times I had, which was chaos for us, but the intramural basketball game when the Kappas got in the fight with the freshmen. Like that was not like it was unreal that it happened because I was like, oh shit, it went down, but it was like it was a split second. Like it happened in a split second. Like somebody hit one of the noobs. And he got hit, and then in that split second, it's like, oh shit, it's us against them. And we all rushed on the floor, and I remember somebody standing next to me going, "Who we fighting?" I'm like, man, if he ain't a noob, hit him. And it was like they was swinging, and girls was getting hit. It was like, yo, if they not with us, hit them. We don't know if they with us or not. We scared at everybody, and we just fighting until the cops come. You know what I mean? And it was like we got everybody together, and it was so crazy, but it was fun. So like it was over with. Like I remember the Q's coming over to the plot, like, yo, y'all want some help? We like, you don't need no help, man. Get out of here. We got this. It was like hilarious. But I mean, those are those memories that just come to your mind.
And Durham prepared me for that 5 weeks.
Right. I mean, it's
I know the cause. Like, wait.
Like when they had the shooting on campus, and then I call home and told my mom. She's like, "What's this I saw on the news?" I was like, "Yeah, it was a shooting on campus." I was like, "There's some people going home." She was like, "What you doing?" I was like, I don't know." She was like, "You can come home and get shot." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
I didn't go home until they made us go home. Like people would go home like all the time on the weekend. I'm like, what are y'all going home for? Especially a freshman year.
So let me ask you that, because you were in Durham and Greensboro, so that's only about an hour away.
45 minutes.
45 minutes. And Naya, how often did you go home from Fayetteville State?
So I mean, being in the band, your weekends were committed.
So that whole first fall semester, you couldn't go
home. So I didn't go home that often. I even
went. How far is Charlotte to Fayetteville? How far?
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours.
So would you say like that spring semester? Did you try to go home, or did you like nah, I ain't want no parts of home? Like you just stayed on campus?
No, I mean I went home when, but I didn't. I wasn't like just knocking down the door to get home, because I mean I started embracing my college experience. So I was not pressed to go home. I didn't go, and I even went to summer school, not because I had to go to summer school, but because I was able to get financial aid. Again, I had the scholarship, so the summers, the money from financial aid that I was able to get, I used it. It was a loan, but I went to summer school, so I really didn't come home. I'm trying to think. Was that my freshman year? Must have going into my junior year. But my freshman year, I went home and I worked during the summertime. And then I went home during the breaks that we had to go home, like Tasha said, and then the summertime, because again, I had to go home and it was good for me to go back to my high school job that welcomed me back.
I think being from Jersey, I mean, we didn't go home much, but I think the best part about the breaks, like Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, was the train ride home.
Oh man, that was fun.
When you get on that train at 8 o'clock at night or 7 in the morning.
It was only two trains. It was only two trains. The night train or the morning train.
Everybody from school get on that train and you stop at every school all the way back. And then and I remember we get to Winston-Salem and Winston-Salem State get on, we be like, boo. They be like, man, forget y'all. We be like, boo.
That's cool though.
And
I like that.
It was the same way coming back. So it was like the New York cats would get on in New York. I would get on in Philly, and when I get on, I'd be like, yo, JC. And I was like, yo, we back here. I'm like, oh, okay. Just get on the train.
I've never ridden the train.
Yeah, it was dope. It was a good experience, man.
That's cool with the college kid. That's dope.
Now, see, what I used to do after I think maybe like sophomore year, junior, that's when we got into renting cars.
Right.
So what we would do.
Y'all graduating.
Yeah. So what we would do, I had my North crew, and we would actually basically say, yo, we ain't stopping. It's going to be, we rolling. Right. And, we would rent a car. We wouldn't tell them we going to Jersey because, the rental car be like, oh, so where are you guys traveling? We're like, we're staying local. We just want the unlimited miles for the weekend. Right. And we already knew if we said North New Jersey, it was a wrap. Like they was gonna be like, So one thing I did like is being a first generation for my immediate family. When I came home on breaks, I was looked at like almost a hero. Right. Like, wow, how's school, like how's college, because it was one of those things that even though realistically, we knew it was an illusion that just because we're in college doesn't mean life is just easy.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Exactly. Well, just even think about it. A lot of our parents, grew up in a generation where high school was like the most for many. Then college, just a regular BA or BS degree was like life. Yeah. But now, really, to tell you the truth, college is really a high school degree now. So it's a lot of jokers that's in these corporate jobs. Like, it's almost like just because you went to college, you still entry level on fries, baby. Right.
But I will put it like this. And I'm glad you said that. And this episode is going a little longer than we usually go, but I'm enjoying the kind of dialogue that y'all present. I will say this, Master. I believe it. I believe this to be true. A college degree will get your foot in the door. It will get your foot in the door that a high school diploma will not. However, you gotta be able to show the work. You gotta be able to show your work. But here's the crazy thing about it, and what I recognized once I got into corporate America, and I'm not in it right now, but when I was in corporate America, HBCU students are a lot more polished.
Oh, yeah.
When it came down to showing the work that needed to be done, way more polished than a lot of the people that they're in competition with. And it came from the cultivation that we got from the professors and the faculty and staff that was on campus that forced us to be as thorough. As
and remember, we always got to be 2 steps ahead. I mean, that's the bottom line. We got to level up, more than the average. We have to show ourselves approved, most of the time.
And another thing that was beautiful about when you had your degree and you were interviewing or you got a job, there was always another brother or sister from an HBCU that was either in management or a senior associate, and y'all automatically had that camaraderie like, oh, you went to Smith? And then it's almost like they pull out a badge like, I went to A&T. Sorry to hear that. Right. And it was already like, yo, we in this together. Like off gate. We going against the system. So that's one thing I loved about HBCU too.
Yeah. And that's almost like that whole situation when you downtown working and you get in the elevator and you see that brother or sister in the elevator, you give them the nod.
Yeah, like, yeah.
And then your co-worker's like, You know them? I'm like, nah.
Nah,
Right.
Like, why y'all speaking?
My kids would do that in a heartbeat. They're like, why are you talking to them? Like,
look, you see that ghetto keychain hanging out their suit with the name of the school on the side.
yeah.
No doubt. Hey, so real quick, we're gonna wrap it up with this last question, and we'll try to keep it brief because I know we're going past the time that we usually do. The last question is for your children, and for the kids that you might be around as far as mentoring. Would you push them still going towards the HBCU, and do you feel like the HBCU experience would still be the same for a child today that it was for you when you were in school? And I'll start with
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's even more relevant now.
Right.
I mean, if we haven't seen anything in this past year, we know that we still have a lot of, issues in our country, the way we're viewed. And so, like I said, we're always trying to level up and try to show ourselves approved. So to me, it's even more relevant now. Now, I will say this, growing up, going to predominantly, white high schools, I do feel like there was a balance that was added when I, having that experience was great. I'll never take that away, but like I said, I knew that I wanted to come on the HBCU side just so I could have a different level of pride in, in who I am and going forward. But it's funny because, now our HBCUs are getting more attention than ever before.
Yeah.
Especially this year. I mean, we know it's been there forever, but especially as during this presidential election, it's really come to the forefront. We know it's always been there. I've even bought into myself about just the differences between some of the schools. For a long time, I always wondered, would it have made a difference if I went to a predominantly white college? What are the differences when our recruiters are getting resumes? Are they really sifting through and making decisions based on what school you went to? Even when I was going back to get my master's, I struggled with what type of school I should go back to and considering all these things. But then along the way, as I started learning how we were using some of the same textbooks that A&T, the NC State was using, and you start really learning the curriculums and the textbooks. It's like, wait a minute. I started learning, wait, this is all marketing. This is a brand. I'm not saying that all the schools have their own stamp of different things that they do. But wait a minute, the same education I'm getting here is still cutting edge. It has to be, it's the state, it's guidelines. So I'm not getting anything that wouldn't set me up for success in the degree that I'm pursuing. So I started learning these tricks of the trade, this marketing, this brand, making us think that they were better than us. And so to be able to say I went to HBCU and I'm just as good, if not better than you, or just as qualified, as professional, just as articulate as you, that's the pride that I love.
Way better.
Even the schools my kids go to now, they're predominantly African-American schools, and they're the top schools in the state. Yes. So loving that piece of it, because people feel like white is right. And we know that that's not the case. And so I feel like that pride that comes with that is unmatched.
And I appreciate the sentiment, Latasha. And I will tell you, it did not take me long once I got into corporate America to realize I was right on par and above a lot of the jokers that I was working with. I was like, man, y'all slack. You was slack. Like the work they was handing in, I was like, that's horrible. Like your presentation was horrible. Like you can't even speak well in front of people. I was like, your slide was trash. Like I was like what are y'all? That's what y'all.
But even with my boys, one has kind of gravitated more towards HBC. I mean, just even the A&T. And I'm like, you don't have to go to A&T. It's okay. Okay. But I just want you to be exposed, to all of that. And they are. And then one has always tended to gravitate to non-HBCUs.
So what's the ages of your
11 to 13.
Okay. All right.
And I even asked one of them, I said, are you anti-HBCU? All the schools we ever talked about. And he said, no, Mom, I'm not. Actually, I do.
You got to give him the chicken. You got to give him the chicken thigh. Like you get the thigh. You ain't the wings, man.
You go anywhere else, you got to figure out how to get there. If you don't go there, no, just play. But absolutely, it's more relevant today than ever before, and we want to keep supporting it and keep pressing and continue to represent the legacy of HBCU.
Thanks, Natasha. Naya, what about you?
So I remember seeing, I don't know, I'm not going to say it right, and I don't know if it was something with UNCF or what, but about how HBCUs outperform non-HBCUs. We're gonna call them PWIs, right?
Yeah.
They PWIs, they're not
Right.
HBCU, in retaining and graduating first generation low income African American students. And I'm sure that's because of everything that they instill in us being there. I mean, think another story, but I remember a church van coming to pick us up to take us to church.
Yeah.
And taking us to get something to eat after when church ended. So I think about how HBCUs are rooted in faith, rooted in community, rooted in service. So I did community service growing up, but that continued once I attended the HBCU that I chose, Fayetteville State. So I have to push HBCUs to my kids.
Yeah.
And for me, I talked to my husband and I, we've had that conversation, like, what if the kids, how do you feel about the kids not going to a HBCU? And first, let me give you a little bit of backlog on my husband. So he was appointed to the Naval Academy. So he went to the Naval Academy first, and that wasn't a good fit. So he left the Naval Academy and went to Morehouse. So graduated from Morehouse, and he went to a private school where he's from. So predominantly white school, preparatory school. But he says that he did not get the confidence that he has until he got to Morehouse. So I think about that, having 3 Black boys and 1 Black girl, but I think about what our Black boys need, especially like Tasha said, and where we are just as a country right now, just how I feel like our African American boys have it the hardest of the sexes and the races. So they need that. We have to put our children in places that are going to build them up. So I'm like, I know that happens at HBCU. So I can't
absolutely nurture.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Naya, and we talked about this before. Appreciate that sentiment because it's important. But when I got on campus at Johnson C. Smith, it was 13-1, right? 13 women to 1 guy. We're already the minority on college campuses.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you about the nurturing that I received from females on the yard. And it had nothing to do with whether they liked me or whether they wanted to be with me or they wanted to be my girlfriend. They just wanted to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And I went for every Black man on campus.
Your brother.
I rarely saw any visceral attitudes towards men on campus when it came from females. I rarely saw it. And I think back to my college days because I don't think I'm ever going to be around that many Black women again in my life. And I was living there every day, right? But the support is there.
Yep.
And anytime you feel like quitting, you always had a female in your ear, like, don't worry about it, you got it.
Right, let's go to the library. Let's study.
Let's study.
Think about
That's the easiest way.
Think about that for a second. Any guy looking at this, think about it for a second. For the 4 or 5 years that you was in school, think of a time that a sister did not have your back while you was on that campus. If anything, you was going through. And that's what you brought up. You brought up a good point. And think about that when you send your Black boys to school. Think about that, young women. When you send your young man to school, what do you need him to be around to build him up? Woman. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's deep. That's deep. I appreciate that, Naya. I do.
So and just to wrap it up, I think about that with other family members too. I'm like, please make sure you don't rule out HBCUs. Go visit HBCUs. I try not to, you put my personal feelings, too hard on anyone else. But I'm like, just what I received from going to a HBCU. I just don't think that. I know that I would not have received that if I had gone to a PWI. And I support it. I support, to each his own. I have one of my best friends went to a PWI, and that's the choice she made, and it was one of her best decisions. But I'm just a firm believer. And then we come back, and I'll end with this because I know you said, Jay Bliss, not for us to not talk too long, but you got us talking about something that we are so passionate about.
He started it. That's right.
The numbers didn't go down.
People
People still tuning in, so go ahead, keep talking. Go
right.
ahead.
So when I before graduating from school, when I went to school, I thought I was going to go to law school straight after college, but I was burnt out. I needed a break, and then I didn't go to law school. But I remember Charles Hamilton, and I want to drop that name because I'll never forget this next couple of experiences that I want to tell y'all. He was a Fayetteville State University graduate. Had a really good federal job in DC with Naval Audit Service, and he came back and recruited. Us. Like, I was one of his recruits to start I had to come home and wait a little while with the background, stuff that you go through with federal jobs. But, I came back to Charlotte for a little while, and then I went to DC with a federal job because he came back and got us. I didn't go to USA Jobs like I have to do now if I'm trying to, get another job. But I didn't go to USA Jobs and apply for my first federal job. I got that job because he came back to the university and recruited us. And not just me, it was probably 7 of us at a minimum that he came back and made sure we were squared away. It helped us do what we needed to do for the application process. Flew us up there to interview. We interviewed, but we ended up coming in on interns, and that was the start of our federal careers. And I've been out of school 20 years this year, and I am still a federal employee. So that was he opened the door for me. And when I got to DC, my sorority, I end up, and I have to shout out to Monica too. So one of my big sisters that I didn't even know because she had graduated before I got to school, but she was in DC. My first year in DC, she opened up her home, and I was there to help me kind of get my feet wet, leaving home, going straight to Fayetteville State, and then moving to the big city of Washington, D.C. So, so it's just so much for me. And I'm like, my kids, they got to feel that. I'm like, grad school, you can go to a PWI, but I'm going to need you to go to a
foundation. I feel the same. The foundation should be that HBCU.
That's been brought up too before on here. My screen froze just for a second, but I do agree with that because if your child is going to go to 2 different things, just do the HBCU, you know what I mean, and then go to grad school. So, so Master, what about you as far as children?
So I'm one of them very conscious brothers that most people would look at like I'm very analytical as for my thought process. So I have 2 young ones. I got an 8-year-old girl, and my son is 12 now. And I have a different outlook as far as the value of HBCU. I agree totally. It is of the essence. But my fear is that the powers that be, they are starting to manipulate our education systems at our HBCUs, with the integration, because to me, I think integration also creates weakness. That, once our schools are in need of money and certain money is coming from government agencies and so forth, the quality of what we need as Black men and women sometimes can be diluted. Where we're just, our HBCUs would just start making a workforce for a system versus the entrepreneurship or the mindset of we're really at a war that we need to really educate ourselves to be off of the grid to become the greatness that really our HBCUs were actually started to create from the beginning. So you know, my kids always come to all of the Smith events.
Yeah.
You know, my son and even my daughter, I could say those are the bras, and my daughter is, you know, so she knows, like, you know, this is his school. But I'm a little fearful of what it's going to be when they're of college age. Because look at how the world is now. We would never think that most of our kids are sitting behind laptops, disconnected from the socialization of their peers, and we're just behind computers now.
Right.
So when it's their turn, I can't see it being what we got.
Right.
And the thing about it, I think the education is really going to have to be more. We are the HBCU, meaning as our, you know, we being the parents in our house, we're going to have to continue what we were taught being in our physical schools, actually in the house. So that opportunity, it might not be the same campus life that we're all talking about here.
Absolutely, and I agree with that point. And here's the thing, and I'm some future broadcasts, I'm gonna bring younger people on, and I'm gonna ask them about, okay, you graduated in 2017 or you graduated in 2019.
What was your experience like?
What was your experience like?
Well,
now, those stories are coming back the same way with that many years and gap for them.
Yeah,
because like I say, me and you go on campus right now, Master, it's different.
yeah.
Well,
I don't know nobody, and I'm talking about people like, what the hell is they into?
but even in this age of technology is different. I've talked to some, because I'm real active in our local A&T alumni chapter. I'm on the on the executive council, really active doing student recruitment. So we're talking to a lot of the kids now who are going, or, you know, and they're like, so I'm talking like, yeah, so talk to me about campus, y'all hanging out on campus, me, and they're like, nah. You know, people on their phones. Remember, we're in technology age. So remember, we didn't have that back then. So sitting out on the yard and just chopping it up with somebody you didn't know was the way to communicate. But when she told me that, I said, whoa. You mean to tell me after class, when you walking through campus, y'all aren't just sitting on the block or sitting in front of the bookstore or chopping it up, or the guys saying, hey, and the girls, I mean, there's no just talking. And it was like, nah, it's really not like that. And I could not process that. And I'm saying, even with technology, why can't you still hang out? Like, why can't you still be social? And our kids in general are losing some of those social elements and how to be, you know, and just be around each other. It's like you have to plan it. You have to be in your room and talk it. You rather talk on Instagram than actually be physically in front of somebody.
That was the adventure. That was the adventure, man. After look, you staring out the window like, yo, when class over, I gotta hurry up and steal some food out of the caf. I'm gonna be eating the cake and stuff while I'm sitting on campus.
Right.
You look forward to that personal connection
or a spring day walking to class going, man, I should just go ahead.
Man, look, I ain't missed no classes yet. This ain't gonna hurt me. I'm gonna miss today.
or you was on your way. You going.
I was going, but here's the thing that I will say. Kind of molded us into the environment in which we thought college was supposed to be before we got there. We had school days in different world. We had those in our mindset. So we knew we were supposed to hang out. We knew we were supposed to be around people. But I don't think there's anything there today that shows the children or the kids what their college life really is supposed to be about. And I think they're just into the mindset of my phone, my technology, social distance. They were social distancing before we supposed to be social distancing.
You're right. You're right.
It's
social media promotes that. Social distancing.
It does. But
my son will text me from upstairs or have a whole. I'm like, absolutely not. So walk down here. You know.
Think about this for a second though. With the wheelhouse that we're dealing with, and Latasha and Master and myself, we have kids all the same age. We have kids like my daughters are 12, and you know, so you got 11, 13, and you got 12 and 8. Maybe, just maybe, that might change before they go to school.
Yeah,
it might change. You're the same age too?
Yeah, but I got a 3. I do have a 3-year-old. What in the world?
Oh,
But
3, right.
11 to 13. So yeah.
I think we just got to do our part. I mean, whatever we can do, meaning we got to keep going back. We got to give back. You know what I mean? We have to be involved, you know what I'm saying, as much as we can. Certainly, the more we give money and support and financial support, the more we can be a little bit more sustainable on some things and make more decisions and create power, having endowments and just really supporting the foundation of the schools. So I just feel like we got to do as much as we possibly can. So with that pride that we all talked about for our universities, we got to back that up. You know,
I appreciate that sentiment, and I will end it on this note.
Yeah,
So we do the HBCU challenge that was brought up by A&T alumni that was on here before. Talked about the HBCU challenge with Shorty, and she basically said that any money that you would have spent on homecoming this year,
right,
we ask that you give that to your school.
Absolutely.
So anybody watching this and ever heard of that challenge before, if you was gonna put aside some money to go travel or go to buy you an outfit or whatever for homecoming, money you was gonna spend on liquor or go out to the party, go ahead and send it to your school. They'll appreciate it, and your school will be better off for it. You know what I mean?
And you know what? And you have to ask people to do that because sometimes they don't think about it, and it's not even intentional sometimes. You know what I mean? But you have to ask, and you have to put it on their mind and put it on their radar, and then people usually will step up to the plate.
Right.
You just have to be mindful.
And I know Fayetteville State, they did a campaign, or they're doing a campaign for the month of October, since this is homecoming month. Where they have set a goal. The athletic department has set a goal to raise $100,000 during this campaign because of the cut. So not just we're not able to attend homecoming, but the part, you know, they're the sponsorships, and I'm just, you know, I don't know this, but and just the funds that they get from the games and everything with no football season, and I'm, you know, I'm sure affected other sports. They've taken a cut. So the campaign is to try and push for us to give that money during homecoming month, so that it kind of helps those ends meet.
So we're doing the same thing, and we're doing a GHO event as well, pre-GHOME event where we're raising money for scholarships. The school is doing one for that. I think a lot of the schools are, honestly, and I think that's a brilliant. I know some schools are, you know, same you would spend for your ticket, send that to the school. I mean, same thing. So I think we got to step up. So I think, I don't know about with the springs on a whole. I know a lot of schools are talking about spring football. I don't know that that's going to be, you know, but we got to step up.
Right.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I want to give a thanks one more time for Latasha, Naya, and Master for coming on here. Look, you got the glass.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna sign off with that, man. And y'all tune in next Tuesday for the next HBCU stories, yo. For real.
Thanks for having me.